Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
No one can do it better.
Netflix. There's different numbers floating about for how much Anthony Joshua is going to make. But let's say he's making 50 million to fight Jake Paul. It's a lot of purse for Netflix to be giving up for what, in theory, is supposed to be a one-off. But here's the thing. I've heard Eddie Hearn say Anthony Joshua is exclusive to DAZN. Well, his next fight's not on DAZN. I'm sure Katie Taylor had similar arrangements, exclusive to DAZN. Her last two fights have been on Netflix. We don't know if Katie's going to return to the ring next year for maybe a farewell in Croke Park, or she might be done with it. I don't believe Netflix see a long-term future for Jake Paul taking on actual credible boxers, which is a category AJ would fall under. The sustainability for Jake Paul is to fight a 60-year-old Mike Tyson, lose close decisions to Tommy Fury, who's not even British or European level at cruiser, take out former MMA fighters like Tyron Woodley, etc. But all this, he's going to step up, fight AJ, Canelo. It's a joke, really, isn't it? And Netflix are not stupid people. There's no mileage, in my opinion, in Jake Paul taking on credible boxers. There is mileage, however, in getting AJ over to Netflix, ironing out Jake Paul, and then AJ takes on the winner of Fury versus Usyk. Usyk is not exclusive to DAZN. He's not. I don't know what Tyson Fury's promotional situation is. Is he still got fights left with Top Rank Frank? Is he exclusive to DAZN?
I don't know.
Regardless, these problems can be remedied with money. DAZN are taking £10 million out of AJ's purse for this quote-unquote one-off against Jake Paul. 10 million out of his purse for what should be a relatively easy night's walkover is good business for AJ. Interesting receipt here from Dan Raphael. While Hearn said the fight with Paul was possible, according to sources, there were plans for Joshua to be quietly added to the Ring Magazine DAZN pay-per-view card on Saturday in Riyadh against Cassius Chaney, 24-3, 17 inside the distance, 38 years of age, from New London, Connecticut. But this was dismissed once the deal with Paul was agreed and they were getting the paperwork in order. If AJ was supposed to fight on DAZN on Saturday, but was withdrawn to fight on Netflix in December for 40 or 50 million, it's obviously a damn sight more than what he would have got for fighting Cassius Chaney on Saturday. And outside of Fury and Usyk, who else on DAZN can get him that type of purse? If Netflix have another huge fight for AJ after he fights Jake Paul, it would depend on what big fights DAZN have for AJ. Can they match the Netflix number?
Hell no, he replied. I don't think so.
I mean, they didn't try to outbid Netflix to stage Canelo versus Crawford, did they? They just can't match Netflix for numbers. It is what it is. If Turkey has an option of putting on a big fight, where does he go? Netflix or DAZN? It's Netflix. And then that's when we have to question, what are we getting from DAZN in terms of these 12 pay-per-views a year? Can DAZN compete with Netflix for the real big fights? Let's say AJ versus Fury. Can they compete? Let's say Fury's exclusive to DAZN, like AJ is. Netflix, theoretically, they've got the money to take both AJ and Fury off the DAZN platform. They got 300 million subscribers. DAZN has 20.
It's simple mathematics.
There you go. They're going to want AJ as one of the boxers to franchise their boxing brand and expand that viewership, because they know what he can do in terms of marketing. One must keep it real. The absolute absurdity of the fight. Now, I say that, not saying AJ shouldn't take the fight. I think he should. I said Tank should take the fight, so why am I going to say any different for AJ? But you know what I believe? This is what I believe. I believe there's people in Jake's camp who are still channeling that Andy Ruiz fight 6 years ago. And they believe that Jake Paul can replicate something similar. A few months back, he was talking about AJ's chinny, he's stiff. Well, if that's the case, you could argue why he needs the catch weight. But it's a fair compromise. AJ hasn't weighed 245 since 2022 when he first fought Usyk. He came down to that weight, I believe, because he thought he'd need to be faster against the nimble Usyk. I don't know what they feel they're going to achieve by bringing AJ down to 245. His last two fights were at 252. It's 7 pounds lighter than the 245 catch weight. I think it's a lot for AJ to lose. What do they think? They're going to drain AJ and then Jake's going to take over down the stretch? Do they think AJ can't knock him out at 245? Or it's going to affect his punch resistance?
I don't think so.
I think they're clutching at straws. They got themselves into something. And now they're trying to figure how to dig their way out without Jake getting his head split like a watermelon.
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
No one can do it better.
So, in the Matchroom PR section, the 15th was a good night for Matchroom. 3 out of 3 victories. Conor, UD Eubank, Jack Carroll stopped Echo Esserman, and Ishmael Davis became British champion at 154, outpointing Sam Gilley. Ishmael's victory over Gilley and Catterall's victory over Esserman, Matchroom 2, Queensbury 0. Frank Warren wasn't very impressed.
It's a tough night for your guys, Frank, in Echo Esserman and Sam Gilley. I'll start with Echo. Yeah. Good fight with Jack Catterall.
Well, there were 2 fights that the money that was offered. They, I told them they were told what the purses were, and they wanted the fights. And it's a Ring or Riyadh season fight. There's a bit extra money for them, so they took it. That was their choice. Me, I wouldn't have done the fight.
Either of them, no.
The Saudi bag often lures fighters into fights the promoters wouldn't have took. We've got 2 examples here. Although, why Frank would object to Sam Gilley taking on Ishmael Davis, I don't know. It was a tight decision. It was close. In hindsight, Catterall versus Esserman was one I think a lot of people overlooked. It looked a tough fight on paper, and it was a tough fight. I don't think the stoppage was controversial, personally. Any liability with the stoppage is on the referee. And Jack won well. He won very well. Conor, post-fight, was targeting Barrios for the WBC title, and it also appeared that a verbal agreement was struck between him and Ryan Garcia. But neither fight is now possible for Conor. Ryan Garcia signs to fight Barrios for the WBC title.
Like I said, guys, I'm pretty tired right now. It's a long day, but I promise you guys I would have this video for you. My next fight announcement. Here goes the contract right here. Like I promised you guys. Lupe was taking a little long, but it's okay. We still love him. Here we go. Gotta get to the last page, Boom, here I go. Signed. I'm going to be fighting for the real WBC championship belt against Mario Barrios, February 21st. Get ready, because I'm coming. Let's go.
So will Conor now turn his attention to Lewis Croker for the IBF title? It's an easy fight for Hearn to make. He keeps banging on that he wants a green belt like his dad got, but his dad's first belt was a WBO belt. Does he know this? Go get the IBF belt. Green belts, whatever belts. Most of these motherfuckers don't know the WBC belt used to be black. Liam Paro will take on Paddy Donovan in Brisbane, Australia in January in an eliminator for that IBF welterweight title. In my opinion, it doesn't matter if they hold it in Brisbane or Ireland. Paddy Donovan will soundly outpoint Liam Paro, whose best was at 140. And then this came from Sam Jones, who manages Jack Catterall. He says, if you're Lewis Croker, you want the unification fight next, or the Conor Benn fight. He said the unification is very unlikely, and he says the Conor Benn fight is unlikely for Lewis Croker as well. Croker and his manager and trainer, Billy Nelson, they wanted that fight. And for some reason, I don't know if Sam Jones has spoke to Eddie Hearn, he's saying, at Jack Cat will fight Croker next, and he'll go to his backyard. Billy Nelson says that Sam is way off the mark. Billy seemed to think the unification is more likely, and he said, just stick to your own business, wee man. Well, Billy was incorrect about the unification, we know that. Ryan has just signed, put pen to paper, to fight Barrios. And Sam Jones says he can absolutely assure you Croker is not getting the Conor Benn fight. But like I say, if you get the unification, fair enough, best of luck. What about Jack Catterall versus Conor Benn? That's a good matchroom fight. Mix it up. I've never rated Ryan Garcia. He's got a good left hook, athleticism, but he's only 27. I think that athleticism could be a declining asset. I don't think he beats Barrios. If Ryan can't nail him early, he'll run out of ideas and ran out of ambition. I don't think he manhandles Barrios at 147. I think Barrios will be too big, too strong, and just competent enough to get the job done. Barrios wins. The 147-pound title is at stake on Saturday in Riyadh. Brian Norman defends against Devin Haney. Now, I don't know what the gambling odds are, and I don't really care, to be honest. But I see a lot of people using their dislike and perhaps hatred of Devin Haney to analyse the fight. They're basically saying all Brian Norman has to do is touch him on the chin and he'll fall asleep. True Geordie said that Devin Haney is the most cowardly fighter ever.
It's not true.
There's still a lot of carryover from when Devin outpointed Lomachenko. And at this point, he's very disliked, very hated. I'm picking Devin Haney to win. Devin may not be the most entertaining fighter in the ring, I'll concede. Devin will relish that people think Brian Norman can knock him out with one punch. Or that people think he hasn't got the heart. Or that he's just no good. Let's hope Brian Norman don't think that. Tough fight, but I think Devin can pull this off on points. I didn't want the video to run on too long, but now we're here. On the same card as Norman versus Haney, we have Bam Rodriguez versus Puma Martinez. Bam Rodriguez will defend his WBC and WBO 115-pound titles against WBA champion Fernando Puma Martinez. This is actually the best matchup on the card. On the low, if you know, you know. If you don't, we'll sit down and we'll break it down. This should actually be an undisputed title fight, but Fernando relinquished the IBF title last October in order to fight the rematch with former WBA champion Kazuto Ioka, who is beaten twice in Japan. The Argentinian is an excellent fighter. Both he and Bam are undefeated. Bam 21-0, 14 inside the distance. Puma 18-0, 9 inside the distance. Martinez is saying that Bam hasn't fought anyone in their prime, but as it says here on the WBC website, Jerwin Ankayas and Kazuto Ioka are two of Martinez's best wins. They're not exactly on the young side themselves. That's how the ball bounces. The best fighters, while Bam's been fighting at 115, happen to be on the more mature end of the scale. Rungvisai, Estrada, Cuadras. They're excellent bodies, regardless of the age. And Martinez is confident of knocking out Bam Rodriguez. Bam, a southpaw from Fort Worth, Texas, is now in the Ring Magazine's pound for pound top 10 at number 6. He's also in the pound for pound top 10 at number 6 on Boxing Scene. He is the only pound for pound fighter on the card. This one is a hard one to pick. I'm going to run with Bam, the younger man with height and reach advantages. Although Puma could mug him off on the inside. He could mug him off. I'm not confident on the pick, but I'm going to go for Bam to win. Sam Noakes, 17-0, 15 inside the distance. Didn't realise his knockout percentage was that high. But then again, I only really recognised Ryan Walsh on his record and Yvonne Mendy, and both of them are a little long in the tooth. Abdullah Mason, 19-0, 17 inside the distance. I'm not picking, because a lot of people are picking Abdullah Mason. The truth is, he's been on the canvas against relatively nondescript opposition. I've seen Sam Noakes a few times. There's too much unknowns for me to make a pick. Neither man has fought in world class, but it's a great opportunity for one of them to be crowned WBO lightweight champion. If Mason does it at age 21, he'll be the youngest world champion currently. Sam Noakes, 7 years his senior, and perhaps the more physically mature out of the two. I'm just going to let this one play out. Everyone's going to be like, Abdullah Mason, Abdullah Mason. Well, we'll see. I've often thought about the main event before it was even a thing. I've often thought about it when David Benavidez was a super middleweight. And I always had Anthony Yarde winning this fight. Punch power. Yarde was not able to improve on his second fight with Lyndon Arthur, who he stopped him for in 2021. The third fight was a life and death struggle. Before that, he went the distance with a standard European opponent named Ralph Vilkans. That was October last year. October 2025, Bill Cairns was stopped in one round by Mehmet Ünal, who is 13-0, 12 inside the distance. I don't know what that means in terms of Yarde's punching power. He said he punches harder than Benavidez. Benavidez has scored one stoppage in his last 4 against Demetrius Andrade. Caleb Plant took him the distance at 168, 2023. Put the first L on Demetrius Andrade's record and stopped him in 6. Then he moved up to 175, and he's been since taken the distance by Wodzik in a very curious fight where Wodzik seemed to be in sparring partner mode. And then David Morrell took him the distance in 2025. Morrell had Benavidez on the canvas briefly in the 11th from a right hand, but it looked a relatively innocuous punch. I don't know how serious the knockdown was. Now, like I was saying before, I always thought Yarde would win this fight, but weighing it up now,
I don't know.
looking at both their logbooks and recent history, I don't think neither of them gets rid of the other with one shot. This has got war of attrition written all over it. Yarde is more sturdy than most the opponents David Benavidez has faced, being a natural light heavy. Yarde, on his day, like against Beterbiev, proved that he can go to war, and he can hang at that level. He's a physical specimen. Yarde, a bona fide 175 pounder, who's going to have more ambition than Wodzik and David Morrell, who in my opinion had a chance of upsetting Benavidez, but he didn't want to put himself through it, or maybe he didn't know how to. Benavidez is a very inactive fighter, and Yarde isn't full of activity, but I'm telling you now, David Benavidez is not the monster that everybody is talking about at this weight class.
A monster mutilating mimics with much madness.
He's 28, still relatively young. Anthony's 34. I do worry about Yarde's defense because Benavidez does have fast hands, but does he possess the same hand speed that he had at 168 or 175 is the question. They've both promised not to take a back step and go for the knockout. Benavidez hasn't been close to being stopped. Yarde's been stopped twice, but you got to look at the levels of opposition who he's been stopped by. Kovalev and Beterbiev, I would say better than anyone that David Benavidez has fought. It could just be a case Yarde is catching Benavidez at the right time. He's inactive. He doesn't seem to have the same punch volume at 175. Power's not the same. And if Benavidez is going to get people out of there at 175, he's going to be relying on volume. And if Yarde is on his game and Benavidez throws a lot of punches to try and put Yarde in his place, the counter-punching opportunities should present themselves. Who's going to break and be forced to box on the back foot is what I'm very interested in. A lot of people are underestimating Yarde's gas tank. His gas tank did look impressive against Lyndon Arthur last time out. That's what won him the fight. And he has to prepare to go down that lonely road if he's going to win this. It's not going to be easy by any means. By any means. The reason I'm giving Yarde a shot is because if David isn't the banger at 175 that he was at 168, and he can't hurt Yarde, while I can't see Yarde walking through Benavidez, he could get the better of the exchanges and win on points, or perhaps stop Benavidez. You never know. But I've got to keep it real. Yarde's best win was Lyndon Arthur, fringe world class. I just have a feeling Benavidez might throw too many punches and Yarde comes up short.